Okay, so let's start with the wheels and the brakes. So the wheels are 10-inch wheels. They actually have pretty good grip on them. Okay, I'm able to go on the off-road, no problem. Gravel, it works great. It's very shaky, so you can't really enjoy it, put it that way. Now, the brakes are hydraulic, full hydraulic, front and rear, and they work pretty well. I can't say they don't work well. Same thing with the front right here. Okay, hydraulic, disc brakes, same tires. The motors are awesome on this thing. Now you got the C-type suspension. It's very springy, very nice. Same thing in the rear. Okay, has this nice fender. Now the paint job is very good on this scooter. It looks like it matches my blue on my car. It's actually a very nice metallic blue. I don't know if you could see it here. In the other video, you could see it in the light in the previous clip. Now the deck, very nice and grippy. I have no problem. I don't slip off at all. Okay. The kickstand is very positive. Always looking good. Always sturdy. When they first sent me this scooter, it had a short kickstand. That kickstand is they actually put on the wrong kickstand from the factory. I called up Roadrunner Scooters. They took care of it for me. I didn't really have an issue with that. This is where it breaks down. Push that. You just push this in and it comes right down. You want a little tension on that. If that ever gets loose, there's a little screw right under here. And you have no problem taking care of that. You just tighten it up a little bit while it's loose, while this is off, and you should be in great shape. Now, let's go up to the handlebars. So right here, these are not the original grips. I actually just put these on. The original grips were good, but they would slip a little bit. This gives me much more purchase, especially with gloves. Okay, now the brakes. This is the rear brake, and then this is the front brake, which is opposite from most vehicles that I have. So you have to get used to it, and you don't want to get too much muscle memory where you're riding your mountain bike and you hit the front brake and then you're right off something. You don't want to go over your handlebars. Now turn it on. This is a full charge. Voltage meter, horn. Actually, we can't turn on the horn until we turn on the display. Display, you hold this down, power button. Got 117 miles on it. Now, first gear, second gear, third gear. Third gear is where you want it at. Personally, that's just how I like it. If you're just starting out and you've never ridden a fast scooter like this, I would leave it in first and then learn. Single and dual motor. So pushing it in, we'll do dual. It out, single. With turbo, if you leave it out, it's turbo. I don't know why they did it that way. And then you push it in, it's eco. Okay. Obviously, the phone mount is not part of the scooter, but this is a great phone mount. I'll leave all this in the description so you guys can check it out. Handlebars do fold. You just pull this out and they come down. Now, over time, they get a little shaky. But inside here, there's a screw. And you actually loosen it the slightest bit. Very fine adjustments. And it tightens up the handlebar. Okay. So that's the basic controls of it all. It's very simple, but it works great. Now, the horn. Very annoying. Headlight. Headlight works great. And that's a basic overview of all the controls. Now the display will show you the mileage you have, the miles per hour you're going, what gear you're in, and how much battery you have left. Now if you hit power button, it shows you can set your trip meter. Then it shows you how much actual voltage you have. It actually reads differently than this voltmeter for some crazy reason. I don't know why. But one of them is more accurate than the other. I go by this one just because it's always lower. I'd rather think it's lower than it's too high and then sometime get you stranded. Apparently, when it hits 43 volts is when it will actually shut off, but just to protect the battery from overdraining, apparently. I've ridden many miles and I've not gotten to that point yet whatsoever. It's a very, very simple scooter. Go back to odometer. Now let's talk a little bit of the specs. So it's rated for a top speed of 40 miles an hour. I've only been able to hit 38, but I weigh about 214 pounds. I'm about 5'11", so it could be the weight. It couldn't be. The odometer could be a slight bit off. I couldn't tell you. But it's even with my my app on my phone that records all the miles per hour with GPS. I get up within 1 mile per hour, give or take. I get a pretty accurate reading from the speedometer on this. When you first get this scooter too, it's in kilometers. There's something called the P settings. Hold those two down, and then you can go to adjust the P settings. If you don't know how to do this, there's tons of tutorials online. I would not mess with it until you knew what you were doing, because each setting goes for a specific thing, and you don't want to put on the wrong setting. There's charts, there's all kinds of stuff. You can find them all online. I could put one in the description for you guys so you can understand. But it does come in kilometers. You hit one of the P settings. It's pretty simple to do. Like I said, I'll send the link for all the P settings. Now, these dual 1,000-watt motors, they're pretty powerful. You get instant torque. It's like a Tesla. It just takes off when you need it to. Third gear, dual motor, turbo mode, you better hold on. Okay? Like I said, if you're not experienced with this kind of scooter, then you want to start out a little slower just so you really get the feel of it, and then you can go get a little faster with it. Now, same thing with the rear, of course. They're excellent motors. I have not had any issue with them. No loss of torque. Even at a lower battery, they still do pretty well. I haven't really had any issue whatsoever. Now, the headlight itself is pretty bright. Like, I don't even know what type of light it is, but it's pretty bright. It definitely sends out a nice beam, so I think you should have no issue at night driving this thing, but it's not my cup of tea. I just like to ride the trails during the day, but if you're actually going to commute with this will definitely help you out a lot. And you can actually adjust the angle of it with just the screw. It's very simple. It'll work out really good with that. So back here are the brake lights. For some reason, only when you press the front brake, they'll come on. For some reason, they don't come on when you press the rear brake. When you have the headlights on, they stay on, of course, until you turn the headlights off. But they're pretty bright. I don't think you should have any issue at all riding this scooter at night. Now we have the charging ports. There's two. Okay. Now, even if you look at the description, there's a tiny little notch at the top of the charger. It actually, you have to put that facing up in here. If you don't, apparently it could short out your scooter. One charger itself will actually take about, they say it's about 10 hours. For me, it's usually about 8, but I don't usually drain the battery fully when I ride. And then if you do 2, apparently it's 5 if you have 2 chargers. Now this is the charger itself. That little notch is at the top, if you can see it. It's that little notch at the top. You got to make sure that goes in directly in there, and then this will actually screw down, just so it stays in place. Now this scooter is rated to have a 40-mile range. If you leave it in the highest settings, third gear, dual motor, you're not going to get 40 miles out of it. I've gotten about maybe 30, 32 about, but it still hasn't died on me. I still had battery left, and that's in the highest settings. That's with dual motor, third gear, turbo mode, and it's still going. It still went strong. So I never really wanted to drain the whole battery. Plus, I go on a lot of trails, and they're miles and miles long, and I go all around all the trails and get back to my car without an issue. It does fit in your car very well. If you have a car that you can fold down the back seats, this thing will go in there no problem. It's just kind of heavy. It's about 70 pounds, maybe 72, I believe. But you know what? It's very well built, and it has to have some weight if you're going to get to higher speeds with this thing. Because if it wasn't, you definitely have a lot of issues. Now, one thing to realize, when you get a scooter like this, all the controls, all the handlebars, all the bolts you have to make sure they're tightened, because all this comes loose from the factory, partly for shipping so that they don't break in shipping. Also, you need to configure it to what feels best for you. I see a lot of guys, they have this controller up and they press it like that. That's an extremely, to me, uncomfortable, unrealistic way to leave your controls. You need to be able to press everything anytime you need it, easily and quickly. And with these hydraulic brakes, you just need one finger, very smooth. You shouldn't have any issue whatsoever. Now, yeah, I beat up this scooter because I really wanted to test it. This is actually from one of my mounts, but no big deal. It honestly is an excellent scooter. There's a little quirks, like I'll give you an example, and apparently this is only my scooter. There's a little bar down here. Doesn't have the full, it's not like fully tight for some reason. Apparently I'm the only one that has that. Maybe it's a little off on tolerances. It does make a little shake. I did contact Roadrunner Scooters about it. I have yet to get any answers for it. I've talked to people on the phone. I've left emails, and yet I have not received any type of resolution for this. It's not the end of the world. It does shake a little bit when you drive, but that's really about it. It doesn't have any effect on its function. But apparently I'm one of the only ones that have that, because I've talked to other people with this scooter, and they have not had this issue. So in general, would I recommend it? 100%. It's an excellent scooter. It's very powerful. It's given me loads of fun, and I haven't had a bit of stress ever since I started riding it. So I would definitely recommend this scooter. So that's my overview of the Nanrobot D4 Plus 3.0. Great scooter. Highly recommend it. I have links for all the gear that I use and the scooter in the description. Feel free to check them out. And I'm going to leave you off with a video of me almost crashing into a fence.